Floods continue to wreak havoc in Pakistan. In fact, the officials estimate saying that 1,355 people, including 481 children, have been killed. More than 33 million have been impacted. This is the current situation in Pakistan, where people of all ages had to leave behind their belongings and move away from the flooded areas to live inside a relief camp. Large parts of the country are still submerged. The Indus River, which runs through the country, continues to overflow, and as a result, Balochistan, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Sindh provinces along the Indus are the worst affected. And these provinces are prone to monsoon flooding. While climate change is increasing the intensity, frequency and duration of monsoon rainfall, during the month of August, the rainy days were higher than normal across the country. Sindh and eastern Balochistan witnessed 15 and 9 days of rainfall compared to 2 normal days of rainfall recorded in the month. The wettest day of the month in the country was on the 19th of August, when Patidan in the Sindh province recorded 355 millimeters of rainfall. And this year, due to heavy rainfall in the country, all 4 provinces are affected. Over 1 million homes have been destroyed, more than 700,000 livestock killed, damages to the tune of $10 billion being reported across the country as military officials and volunteer workers carry on the rescue work.
During the rescue operation, we were without food for more than 2 days, and the people we rescued, including women and children, were also hungry. And in the first 2 days, we rescued 1,500 to 1,600 people, and in 9 days, we rescued almost 4,400.
Well, floods continue to wreak havoc across the country, with more and more deaths being reported, and over 1,350 people have now been confirmed dead across the country since this extended monsoon began. The losses are estimated to be at about $10 billion initially, as per what the Pakistani government assesses, and the Pakistani government has been actively reaching out to international donors and agencies, and in these regards you'd be seeing that tomorrow on Friday, in fact later tonight, is when the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is due to arrive in Pakistan, where he will be taking first-hand stock of the situation, the flood situation, and also we're seeing that the USAID administrator is also to be in Pakistan, and therefore these 2 visits are deemed very critical, very important, because these are 2 major donors, major international agencies who can and would be contributing towards rehabilitation purposes going forward as a result of the impact of these floods. Anas Malik in Islamabad, Pakistan for WION World is One.
The UN Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, is expected to visit Pakistan, and in his speech highlighted the importance of tackling climate change, which is causing extreme weather events and unseasonal rainfall in many parts of the world. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees has warned that more rains are expected in the coming month and could worsen the situation. Pakistan has already received 190% more rainfall than its 30-year average in July as well as August. Sindh province received 466% more rain than the average.
Today it is Pakistan, tomorrow it can be anywhere else. To deal with climate change, that is a defining issue of our time, with a business-as-usual approach is pure suicide.
And with me on the broadcast this minute is Dr. Imran Khalid from Islamabad. He is the Director of Governance and Policy at the World Wildlife Fund, Pakistan. Thanks very much for being here. If you can help us better understand the situation on the ground right now, more rainfall is predicted in this month itself.
Yeah, this is a calamity of immense proportions, and your reports have earlier really highlighted the plight of the people. I mean, there are nearly 650,000 people who are living in relief camps across the country, most of them in the Sindh province. And these relief camps are usually built on roads or highways. And so these are small encampments in which hundreds upon hundreds of people are there. They're lacking clean drinking water. They're lacking sanitation facilities. And they're difficult to get to. I mean, we've got nearly 6,000 kilometers of roads that have been damaged. So even if you are to supply them with, food, medicine, and the essentials, it's very difficult to get past them because a lot of these areas are still flooded. Yet people are coming together, learning from the 2005 earthquake and the 2010 floods. Civil society has come together, and people are, sending their own convoys. People are contributing a large amount of financial help. But the calamity is of such a scale that it does require an international element to it. We do require international community to come together and help us in these relief efforts.
Right. There is also the danger of the spread of diseases. How is Pakistan's healthcare sector reacting to that and coping with it? And how could the country rebuild the infrastructure as its economy is already under a lot of stress?
Yeah, no, definitely a concern. Hospitals and basic health units, usually the first point of contact for individuals in need of medical health and medical care, they're underwater and have been impacted gravely. So people are living in relief camps, as I said. There are no sanitation facilities, lack of, proper hygienic living environment. And that's adding and compounding the crisis, especially for the elderly and the women. And as far as the country moving forward, we've just signed a deal with the IMF. We've had a cash injection of over $1 billion, but this crisis is going to eventually end up costing us around 10 to 15 billion US dollars. And so hence we'll have to go back to the IMF and renegotiate that and then think about rebuilding in a way that's sustainable and resilient.
Right. Do you agree with Pakistan's climate change minister, Sherry Rahman's statement that Pakistan is ground zero of this climate catastrophe created by the greenhouse gas emissions of the richer countries?
Yeah, Pakistan represents the canary in a coal mine, if you will. This year alone, we've faced droughts, heat waves, glacial lake outburst floods, riverine flooding, and monsoons on steroids, as the UN Secretary General called them. Our situation is a clarion call to the world in terms of an immediate reduction of greenhouse gases. It's probably too late for the millions of Pakistanis who are being affected by floods this year, but this is a fate that awaits the rest of the world if steps are not taken to address the climate crisis. But having said this, Pakistan needs to do some soul searching of its own in terms of ensuring that we learn from our shortcomings. And what do I mean by this? I mean, ensuring that there's effective early warning systems, allowing room for rivers to flow, allowing for proper drainage during infrastructure development, an enhanced role for communities, an enhanced role for local governments. This is going to be important moving forward because we need to adapt to the changing scenario, the climate change. But we should continue to call out those countries, especially in the recalcitrant global north, who despite scientific evidence continue to churn out their industries and emit large amount of greenhouse gases that are putting vulnerable communities at risk, not only in Pakistan, but across the world.
Right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing those inputs and perspectives. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.